Since reading The 4 Hour Work Week, it was always my dream to make those big numbers like 50K a month and of course 100K a month. Always a dream. But it took me a few businesses and a few years to finally reach it. I got one business to 6 figures, another to 6 figures, and eventually I got one to 7 figures. But honestly, it would have been so much quicker with this one thing, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. Exactly the thing that I would have changed after all those years of working in business that would have got me the results much quicker, inshallah. Let's get started. My first attempt at business was after I went to an SEO guru guys conference workshop thing. That was my first introduction to internet marketing. And I was interested in productivity, so I made a productivity ebook for students. Now, of course, I didn't make much money from this, mostly because I made the big mistake of just focusing on the product, just like spending a lot of time writing this book and making the book nice. This was a long time ago, by the way. And I was told that if I make a good product and then I just do SEO or whatever, then I'll get loads of clients and purchases. But I think I made like 2 sales from this thing. Then the next business that I started, I had a lot more business knowledge, and it was an e-commerce gifting business. And this is one that we did 6 figures in, but there was a lot that I messed up on, of course. I was doing a lot of Facebook ads, spending a lot on Facebook ads, but I didn't understand the fundamentals of e-commerce, about how if I'm gonna spend on ads, I need to make sure I get a good average order value, I need to get people returning back, I need to do email to make sure that happens, retargeting, and we need enough products so that people have enough choice where they're actually gonna come and buy again. So there were a lot of mistakes made there. But the sad thing is that I learned a lot of those lessons, and we made the 6 figures in that business over a very long period of time. So it could have been done a lot quicker. And of course, a lot of the progress that I made in those businesses was because of what I'd learned in businesses, in courses, in books, in podcasts. I was eating up all this new information like you probably did when you first understood the world of digital marketing. But I still never even went full time with any of those businesses. I was still either a student or working here, working there. It wasn't quite working financially yet. And I had this fundamentally wrong mindset that if I just found the right strategy, the right course, the right book, that I would go on to make loads of money and that I would reach that 6 figures a month, etc. But that was one of the big mistakes that I made as well in believing that. Because then I took a completely different approach when I started my next business. One big unlock was that I had co-founders. So they pushed me on and we got to discuss and get feedback from each other and kind of coach each other and mentor each other in a very helpful way. But the other thing is that we had a lot of structure. Because there were 3 of us and those co-founders, they're a bit older than me, they had experience in the corporate world, they understood the power of planning and implementing systems and actually thinking about what you're going to implement before you implement it. And so we got into this mode of implementing systems in the business across 12-week cycles. You could call it a sprint. We would find one of these amazing strategies that you find on YouTube these days, or courses or books, and we would actually plan out how we're going to implement that specific strategy into the business in detail, with speed and with quality. And then we would make this plan and we would have to show it to each other and we would give feedback, so that by the time that plan was kind of signed off on and everyone agreed with the plan, it was a solid plan. It was bulletproof. And when you're first implementing some of these marketing systems, like let's say email marketing, how to do all of that side of things automated, or when you're running ads or you're going all in on content or whatever on YouTube, at the beginning, you've got this system, you need to just implement it without worrying too much about copying it. And sometimes I would copy something to a stupid level where literally we would use the same color. Just so I don't have to make that decision of what color to use, I would do the exact same color as the guy in the course was teaching. I'll just tell myself, okay, we'll get some initial results with this and I'll tweak it later to make it not as copying. And this is the unlock, that if I could tell anybody how they could get to 100K a month faster, it would be by doing this. Taking systems that you learn, focusing on them, and then giving yourself 12 weeks to implement them. Especially if you've got an accountability coach who's making sure you're consistent with your productivity. And if you have somebody, a coach, a business coach, a co-founder, to bounce ideas off and make sure you're holding yourself to a high enough standard and to give you confidence that you're making the right decisions. These things combined is exactly what will take you to the next level. Because can you imagine any part of your business right now that you feel could be better? Whether it's your content, whether it's your closing on sales calls, whether it's the churn in your subscription business, whatever it is, what if you took a system from somebody who'd done that time and time again and you implemented it with quality, with speed, and you actually got it done? You would get results from it, wouldn't you? Especially if you focused on it for 12 weeks. And by the way, you can do other stuff in your business during that time, but you're just focused on that main driver. Then imagine you did that again in another 12 weeks, and you just layer these systems on top of each other. The compounding effect of that is the type of thing that gets you to 50K if you're not there already, but definitely eventually 100K a month. And when I say implement a system, I mean really implement it, detail by detail, just following what you've been taught by the others, and knowing that later on, once you've implemented the base level of the system and you've got initial boost in results from it, later you can tweak it and add your own flavor to it. And that's exactly what we did with our webinar system, for example. Initially, we took Russell Brunson's webinar process from his book, Expert Secrets. We even bought he had like a cheap course on it for like $100-200. We bought that as well. And we're like, we are implementing this system end to end. That is the system that got us to 20, 30, 40,000 a month. And then when we had that going, we kept tweaking things to improve it over time. And then we layered on another system, which was our ads, and another system, which was our influencer promotions. And that is how eventually we got to 6-figure webinars. Not just 6-figure a month, but a webinar that did 100K revenue. It took a lot of time, it took a lot of work, but this is one of the quickest ways that you can do things, because you get so focused, you get clear on what you need to spend your time on, and everything else you could kind of discard. And so it does mean that you can work like 4, 5, 6 hours a day. You don't have to be working 8, 10 hours a day when doing this, because you're focusing on what really is going to move the needle. And if you want to work with me on this, that's kind of what I specialize in, helping you to implement these systems in your business to scale it to the place where you want it, whether that's more revenue, more profit, or just a better lifestyle for yourself. So there's a link in the description if you want to work together. Otherwise, I hope to see you in the next video.